Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, March the 8th. It is time for an episode of Get to Know Her. I am your host, Monica Graves. I am broadcasting live from my studio at Glam Jewels. And today is International Women's Day. Hooray! I just want to say before we start today, thank you to all of the amazing women in my life, the amazing women who are watching today. I'm so grateful to all of you, and I'm so happy that we can all come together on my platform, on so many different platforms that other women have created, and we can come together, we can share stories, and we can empower each other. When I started Get to Know Her, when the pandemic first started, I had this dream that I was going to provide a platform for women to share their stories that were relatable, stories that would inspire the viewers, stories that would give us hope. And that's exactly what all of my guests have done. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of them. They're all amazing women. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for continuing to watch. One of the amazing supportive women in my life, of course, is Brenda Bedome. And where would we be without Brenda dressing us every day? So today I'm wearing this gorgeous little houndstooth jacket from her, along with her pants, but I had to add my own little flair here with my International Women's Day t-shirt, Femme Power, and Wonder Woman belt, of course. And today the tea will be enjoyed out of that mug. So if you are in the mood to shop, which I hope you are, you've got to go and check out Brenda Bedome. She's an incredible designer. She's Canadian. Her website is brendabedome.com. She has her spring collection up now, and she is giving us a coupon code, Get to Know Her. And when you use that coupon code, you're going to get 22% off of your order. If you need jewels to go with, Glam Jewels is where you want to go. And today I am wearing some very special jewelry. So I've layered a couple of bracelets, but this one here in the middle, this is our Cycle of Empowerment bracelet. And with this bracelet, it's $35. We are donating funds to the Period Purse, who happens to be our guest today. So before I get into all of that, I don't want to spoil any surprises. I'm going to introduce our guest. Happy International Women's Day to all of you. And let's get started. Today, you are going to meet Danielle Kaftarian. Danielle is the operational manager at the Period Purse, a registered charity that strives to achieve menstrual equity and reduce the stigma surrounding periods through outreach, education, and advocacy. The organization works with community partners, local volunteers, and committed donors to deliver menstrual products to the community. Danielle has been with the charity since it began in 2017. She has a background in finance and accounting. Outside of the Period Purse, her two children keep her very busy. We are honored at Glam Jewels to be raising funds for the Period Purse through the sales of our 28 beads Cycle of Empowerment bracelet, which I just showed you, in support of the Maxi Drive, which is run by sisters Trina and Sarah Turrell, who have also been on the show. I am so excited to chat with Danielle today, and just so happy that she could make the time for us today on International Women's Day. So let's bring Danielle on. Here she comes. Danielle, I'm so happy you're here. This is great.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. This is amazing. As I was saying, on International Women's Day, this is fantastic to have you here. Yeah. So your kids are keeping you busy today.
So busy. You heard them earlier.
I did. They were there for sound check, so that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. They were home for lunch. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So Danielle, speaking of kids, I always start the show going back to when you were a kid, and I wanted to ask you what you wanted to be when you grew up.
Oh,
and do you remember how old you were when you had that first thought?
You know what? I reflected on this question a little bit because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's your standard. So I actually kind of bounced around different careers that I wanted to do. I mean, I remember pretending I was a teacher. I remember wanting to help people. I remember being interested in health and wanting to be like a physiotherapist at one point. So I was like in all these different avenues. And so in the regular, like I wanted to be a superhero and running around with pretending I was Shira and stuff like that. But you know, you quickly realize you can't do those things. But I kind of feel like I get to do all those things now, which I thank you
Yeah.
for asking me this question because I'm like, I do a lot of educating, I'm helping people, I'm in the health sort of, you know, wellness area. So I guess I am what I wanted to be
Yeah.
when I grew up. And I
And
didn't realize it until you asked this question. So
hello, you are also a superhero.
thank you.
You totally are. Look what you're
Yeah.
doing. It's
So
amazing.
yeah, it's quite interesting to kind of think about it that way, that all of these, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up have come right through and have all been added into one thing of what I'm doing now. So it's great.
Yeah.
Probably why I
You know,
enjoy it so much.
exactly. I remember hearing once a long time ago, it was a piece of advice for people who are trying to find themselves. And the advice was to go back to your childhood and really look at the things that turned you on, that you love to do. And that's where your life should take you. Like it's almost like we're born here with a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those things show up when we're kids, but I think it's very hard to kind of implement that in your life because especially when you're in your 20s, you kind of everything is it's you just this vast sea of
Or 30s.
opportunity. Yeah, or 30s.
You
Like
know?
how do you
Yeah.
choose?
Yeah.
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 So what
Yeah.
ever got you into finance and accounting?
You know what? I had so many teachers ask me the same thing. I always I always enjoyed business courses. So even in high school, I took a ton of business courses and really enjoyed that aspect of it. And it sort of just carried into my post-secondary and studying there. And it just kind of, I was good at it. I understood it and just pursued it that way.
Wow. And what did you love the most about business courses? What was
Um, I think I just enjoyed all of the pieces coming together, like how
yeah.
people working come together, the accounting, how it came together, marketing. I enjoyed that part of it, and sort of how you could create something good and meaningful and move it forward. I kind of always loved that entrepreneurial um, aspect of things and building something from a foundation up. So that sort of is
Yeah.
what inspired me and helped me along.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I took a business course in my 20s, I think, and it was called How to Build a Small Business. And it was through Sheridan College. And I remember that feeling of like all these components, and then you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. And like you could feel it in your belly, like I can actually do something, like I can make an impact. Whereas, until you
Mm-hmm.
take a course like that, it's kind of hard to know how it all fits together, right?
It's funny. I went to Sheridan,
Did
so
you? Yeah.
I did, and so yeah, they had great business courses that kind of brought things all together, and fantastic instructors that kind of shared real life experiences that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed that.
That's cool. Yeah, one of my teachers was actually like a retired bank manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was funny. He was like, one of a great piece of advice I can give you is just rack up all your credit cards. And I was like, what the hell? Like, he said, just find the money. And yeah, I don't know if that was the best advice, but
Yeah,
yeah,
advice, but not maybe not
yeah.
the best.
Exactly. So how did you and Jana meet? So, and you can maybe you can tell everybody who Jana is and your relationship with her, how all this.
So Jana's our founder, and I can tell you
Yeah.
the story of how she founded the Period Purse when you're ready to hear that.
Yeah.
But we were friends before the Period Purse. So when
Okay.
she sort of started and had an idea, she kind of was tapped some of us and was like, and and I just jumped right in. I couldn't do anything but help her. She's been such a great friend over the years, and it didn't shock me that she started this up
Yeah.
because she's such a kind, natural soul. So I just jumped in and helped her, and no one knew kind of what it was when it first started, and it quickly grew into what it is now. And I've been along the way for the whole thing.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, and it started in 2017.
Yeah, we're coming on to our 5-year anniversary. So,
Wow.
and it started off with one purse. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It was, she saw someone panhandling and kind of was like, I wonder what they do for their periods, and went home and kind of packed up some goods she had in her closet and posted on our local Facebook community page saying, does anyone have a purse? I'd like to pack this up in a purse. Here's what I'm doing. And everyone jumped in and was like, I have a purse. I have more supplies. Great idea. And CBC picked it up. And next thing you knew, we were doing a big drive, and we were celebrating that we collected and packed about 300 purses, I think it was, in our first packing party. And that grew, and just this year alone, since January, we've sent out almost, I think, 26,000 healthy periods. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So I can give you an idea for you and your group.
Yeah.
So this is what we classify. We sometimes do it in Ziploc bags. Sometimes we just give products now, especially during COVID, to places. But this would be the quantity of what we count as one healthy.
Okay.
So it's about 35 pieces of product. And we've sent out tons of these all across the country. So
incredible.
It's a huge need. Yeah.
That's
all
amazing.
from one purse.
Yeah. All started with one purse. And I was reading on your website, it was a lot about donating $15. So what will the $15 do exactly?
So the $15 helps us buy the supplies. We do get a lot of donations, physical donations, but we do also get financial donations, which are great. It allows us to go out and purchase these products and assemble them and ship them off to various locations.
Okay.
So if we can drive it to somewhere, we will. But it goes all across.
That's amazing.
So that will help support a menstruator.
Yeah. So $15 would probably be enough for a whole month for one menstruator, and then possibly cover the shipping costs as well, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And we often try to throw in, especially during COVID, an extra mask in there, some underwear. Underwear is hugely popular and a requested item. So we put that in there as well.
Great. And I know because actually Sarah Turl's watching right now, and she said she also went to Sheridan. So that's cool. And so Sarah Turl and her sister Trina, as you know, started the Maxi Drive to help you guys out. And we had a really fun event last night, and Jana had attended, and she read a little card insert that you also put in the Ziploc. So I would love it if you read that.
Yeah, so we put one of these in all of our packages, and it says on the back of it, it says, "Dear friend, we hope that you enjoy these products. We would like to tell you something. You mean a lot to the world. You are strong and powerful, and you are powerful. What you are going through today does not have to be your forever. We care about you, we believe in you, and we're rooting for your success. Sending our love, the period purse."
Oh, that's beautiful. And Jana was saying last night that one of the women had put it up by her bed, and
she had it. They sent us a photo of it. It was, and she said that was her inspiration. And we've received that feedback from multiple people who benefited from our products, and just being that message meant the world to us. So
right. Amazing. And you're all volunteers at the Period Purse, and you're building this incredible community. I'm happy that we're talking about the girl who gave you the photo and all of that, because I'm curious to know, I know you have a Facebook page. Are your volunteers also spending time engaging with the individual girls as they reach out? And
So
Is
we
there-
primarily, because being volunteers, we try to, like, what can we do to get the most amount of products out and really impact the communities as much as we can. So in order to facilitate that, we primarily deal with the locations themselves opposed to the individuals.
Okay.
And that just allows us to be able to get so much more out to there. So we, from time to time, do get contact with individuals, and that always feels great. But we primarily get our feedback from the people working within those locations that we support.
Okay.
And passing those messages along. I did back once some of the deliveries I did. I have some really sweet stories. Back, we don't do purses anymore, but we, for a whole bunch of reasons, but when we did purses, one of the locations that we supported, they invited me in to watch, and they set up all the purses on a table, and people were going through and like shopping for them and being like, oh, this one looks good for you, and this one had a scarf, and oh, I think that color looks good, and they just had so much hope and dignity, and it just gave them that moment of like, everything's going to be okay and things will get better. And it meant a lot to witness that and experience that.
Oh, that's incredible. And some of the stats I found quite shocking, like that. So one of the things was 25% of young folks don't know why people get periods or how to manage them. And then 70% of menstruators have missed work, school, and social activities while they are having their period. So, this is stuff that, like for somebody like me, I mean, I remember the day I got my period, it was like we were going on a school trip to Ottawa, and my mom, like, she worked full time. She very rarely came to these kinds of school events, but she did come to Ottawa, and she sat there in the back. I remember sitting with her in the back of the bus. She was holding my hand. She was reassuring me. I was already prepared. I knew what was coming, and when it came, I had my mom there. Like, and to read this, it's just like,
it's it's not always discussed or talked about. People are menstruating earlier ages, so that's part of it too. Puberty is happening sooner, and not everyone has a mom to walk them through those scenarios. So there's so many factors at why people don't know what's happening to their bodies, and this is something we need to talk about. And what's fabulous is it's changing, right? Like, it's really shifting. And that's what's creating excitement. Like, I was watching TV shows recently are talking about first periods and using a tampon. We can see that on so many new it's starting to become like every show touches upon the subject of menstruation over the last year or so, and that's something that wasn't happening before. So that progress of making and educating is changing, but there's still so much work to do. So this is why we do a big education component here at the Period Purse, is to bridge that gap and just talking about periods, and adults around kids talking about periods and normalizing it. Someone who might not have been told can maybe overhear that conversation and realize that it's normal and healthy and important to talk about.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you guys are very good with really making sure that the language is clear and, getting away from like the slang of like the stuff we said, ant flow.
There's a whole list of them, right? And it's not that those aren't wrong, but we shouldn't be ashamed to say menstruation or say period. And a lot of that is, again, it's just changing. I know if you asked me 5 years ago if I would be here talking, I would say absolutely not. And it wasn't that I was embarrassed. I just, like, why would I ever talk to somebody about it? And now it's literally what I do. And it's not something that's uncommon. So it's just changing that landscape and us all being more comfortable to use these words and talk about them in our everyday situations.
Right. And I think it's very interesting. So I want to share a little story with you about designing the bracelets for this. So I had a brainstorming session with one of my friends, and she said, oh, it'd be great is to do 28 beads for the 28 cycles and then have it end with the little red bead, right? And then I said to her, and you know what else I could put on there is a female symbol. I can get charms of the female symbols. And then in talking to Trina and to Jana, and Sarah, it was like, no, you can't put the female symbol on there because we're addressing all menstruators. And it was like and I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Like, it was like, oh, like that was such a big learning for me. And then I went on to CH Morning Live where I talked about the bracelet. And I'm telling you, Danielle, just because I knew that I wanted to get the language right, and I didn't want to say girls and I didn't want to say women, and I wanted to talk about menstruators and to really use that inclusive language. I got so stumbled over my words. At the end, they asked me, what's the name of the bracelet? I couldn't remember the name.
It's so hard.
Such a good learning for me. Like, eventually it came to my mind, and, you know, I was laughing with the host. It was all good, but this is really important. And yeah, I wanted you to speak to that. That's a huge.
Yeah, inclusive language, you know, across the broad spectrum. And, you know, there's so many things that are we're all learning and changing, and you know, with how we refer to different groups of people and into menstruation, right? So it's the biggest learning thing I've discovered is if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just fix it. We're all learning, and just, you know, be open to that. And yes, not all menstruators are women, but the way I also like to remember it too is not all women menstruate, right? And that's something important to realize too, because it's often assumed that, you know, if you identify as a woman or you know, that you will menstruate, and that's not necessarily. There could be health issues. There could be, you know, menopause women. There's so many different spectrums, and that doesn't mean that they're not a woman just because they don't menstruate. So if we look at it from those two perspectives, it's very easy to correct ourselves with being inclusive.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. So you've got 2 boys at home.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how old they are. Are you sort of teaching them?
Oh yeah, we've had the conversation. Yeah, so my oldest is 11, soon to be 12, and my youngest is 9. So this is something that for the last 5 years has been in their house. It's not uncommon. Actually, I think right now there might be some menstrual products on my front porch. You know, it's not uncommon. They've come to packing parties. They've helped with packing those kits that we've just posted. So I've really normalized it for them. I don't know if they're going to go talk to their buddies about it, but it's definitely something that they just know this is what mom does and this is what's in her house, and just kind of changing that. So yeah, it's just fixing that next generation. Don't be shy to be open about it. And you know, our conversation's been age appropriate as they've grown up, and that will continue. And I'm excited by this next generation that these are like, this is what's normal for them.
Yes, I'm excited about that too. Can you share your story with us, Danielle, of when your very first period? What was that experience like for you?
So it's funny. I was just talking about this recently with somebody. My first period, I think I didn't realize it was my first period. It was so light, and I think I just chose to ignore it. But my first, like, I identified period, it was Easter. And my mom was working. And so she had explained everything that was happening, but it was still like complete shock. I also thought it would be really cool to wear white pants to church. I used to go to church back then, and so, you know, it was a great learning experience of how that all works. And thankfully it wasn't too embarrassing, but yeah, I was mortified. I remember being like, so I was one of the earliest in my class, and you know, I had to explain to the teacher why I need to go to the bathroom, and I just, you know, and I wasn't happy with it at all. But by the time all my friends kind of came to theirs, I was like, well, here's what you got to do. Here's what it is, you know, and I was kind of helping some of them along, not all of them. Some of them had it before me. So it was really just kind of a interesting experience, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's I just remember still the I remember feeling really shocked because it was like up until that point, I felt like I was like an energetic kid. And then all of a sudden I could feel that energy drain every month. And I remember I'd always have one day where I'd go to bed at 6 o'clock because I just couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And our bodies go through so much, and
So much change. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of that stuff, it's like we learn the basics about, okay, you're going to probably get cramps and you can take an Advil and, tampons or pads and all that. But there's a whole bunch of other hormonal stuff and, just
So much thing, and our bodies are constantly changing and adjusting, right? And so kind of learning what, as we talk about periods, you learn things like, I didn't know that there was different energy flows for the longest time based on your cycle. And when you discover that and you can kind of harness that and use it to, okay, I'm more productive, during this time. So I'm going to, use that energy and, do your big cleaning project in the house or your blast through your emails, and respect when you're low energy and know that, okay, that week I'm going to maybe watch a little extra Netflix or whatnot. And just learning that about our cycles. And, as we talk about it and more things get published and we can learn about it, that's where, we can educate ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. I just love what you're doing with your boys. I mean, of course they're around it, but I think this is really, really great. And I have a lot of friends. I don't have kids myself, but, I see women with boys and how they're raising them, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. It's an interesting time. So it'll be fun to see what happens when they're all 20 and 30 and what the world's going to look like then. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. One of the things we talked about last night at the Maxi Drive party, which was kind of funny, I hadn't even thought about it, was commercials around menstruation and the blue on the
Yes. So, according to media, menstrual blood is blue. And we also all want to go like horseback riding and extra sports, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know that there are some that, want to do all of those activities, and that's great, but it's not necessarily what all want to do, right? And using the blue liquid, I've heard like some youth get confused that they didn't know why they came out red instead of blue, right? Because they were never told any different, because that's what the media told them, right? So red is shocking. So, we're seeing more of that normalized and used. We're still seeing some gaps. Like there's some period companies that we work with, and if they post, red on TikTok or a period pad with red on it, it gets flagged as inappropriate content. So there's still ways to go with it, but it's those steps, just normalizing it, having those conversations, if you're in shock and grossed out by it, like why, like what, and examining what is it? Is it because we've been told it's gross, or is it because we actually think it's gross, right? And figuring that part out. And as we change that landscape, that's where things like what we do at the Period Purse will increase, right? And that stigma will break down, and more we talk about it, more we can get product out into the community, because people are aware that it needs to be out in the community. Up until a few years ago here in the city of Toronto, they didn't even have a line item in their budget to purchase menstrual products. It wasn't on the radar for their city shelters. And city shelters have a lot of women in them, or menstruators, if you will, in them. And it wasn't a line item to have a budget for. So, having those conversations and pointing that out, it's now there's a budget for it, and it's going to hopefully be increasing, right, over time. So that's where having those shocking moments sometimes in the media can help drive that change, which is required. So it's great. It's great all around.
That's amazing. And what do you think now of with all of the like the underwear that you can buy that's like
Yeah.
washable, and then I guess the menstrual cups, they're also reusable,
There's
right?
so many options out there, right?
Yeah.
So for your listeners, if you're loyal to one product, reach out and look, and there might be something else that's more appropriate now, right? There's,
Mhm.
you have your disposable pads and tampons. You have tampons without applicators. You have a lot of really great companies out there that are doing organic and biodegradable products. And then you have your reusables, right? You have your cups and reusable pads and underwear and all of these great things. And the technology has really improved over time and how to use these. And it's great. There's a lot of great information out there for, things that even 5 years ago were not common. It's now becoming more mainstream because people are talking about, okay, what do you use now, right? I've been using the same thing for 20 years. What do you like, kind of situation, and having that education. So
Yeah. When I was, I guess I was, well, I was 12 or 13 at the time. My brother and I, we used to go to Kitchener to, my parents are German, so they sent us to this farm, and it was all German speaking, and it was, like a overnight camp kind of thing. And I don't know why I didn't take any pads with me, but I got my period there, and oh my God, the woman pulled out from like 1950 something,
they're really
the
great.
pad, thick pads, and then I had the belt
Oh
with the
gosh, yeah.
clips, and I was like, "What in the heck is this contraption?" And then I had to stay in my room while they all went swimming and stuff. Like, I couldn't participate. And then I remember another, kind of shocker experience was, years later when I was 19, I went to Germany, and I worked there for my uncle, and I said to my aunt, "Oh, I got my period. Do you have any pads or tampons?" And she gave me the OB, and I'd never seen those before. And I
Oh,
was like, "Well, what is this? How does this work?" She goes, "Well, you just put it in there." Like, "What do you mean, how
yeah,
does it work?" Like, because they
yeah.
didn't. And then I went to the store to try to find tampons with
With an
applicators.
applicator, no, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting that so many different people manage their cycle using different products, and it's just kind of like you use what was ever in the cupboard at your house, right? And it just gets
Yeah.
passed on, or whatever is common for your friends. But yeah, you bring up a good point about products, and this is one of the big things that we're advocating for is products in schools and all bathrooms, because it
Yeah.
helps those who require um, menstrual products due to financial needs, but it also helps the general public who forgot to put one in their purse, or got their period unexpected. And if it's just there, it benefits everyone. So that's something we definitely try to do, because like, look, if they said no, I don't have anything, you would have not had anything, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's really important to just have it out there everywhere, because we're hearing stories of students going to school, and they don't have access to a product, and they're missing class time. And this could be due to financial reasons for their family, especially during the pandemic, but it also could be just they got their cycle and they didn't realize, and you go to the bathroom, and if it's not there, then they have to go hunt it down in the school to the guidance counselor, the office, have an awkward conversation potentially.
Yeah.
Their friends then go get them. And then once they actually find a product, go back to the bathroom so they can use it, and then go back to class, and they could be gone and missing valuable class time. So
Mm.
it's a really important thing to ensure that it's everywhere for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. You look at toilet paper, like that's free
Yeah.
everywhere.
Toilet paper, hand sanitizer now, and soap, and
Mhm.
we've even had masks that is, a lot of places have an extra mask if you don't want one, but can't find a pad or a tampon if extra if you need it.
Wow.
So it's about just normalizing that, and having those conversations and bringing it up of like, why isn't it in my work bathroom, or and
Yeah.
having something there, or the places you visit frequently, and just encouraging some free products in the bathrooms for people.
Yeah, so true. So Danielle, is that something the period purse does as well? Like, would you put products together for schools?
We do support a number of schools.
Oh,
Yes.
you do? Okay.
Yes, we do. So we work with them to get them products in the bathroom. We also have education programs for the youth on being comfortable seeing periods, talking about reusable products, and talking about advocating in their communities. So we do have presentations on that as well. And then also just the larger trying to get, you know, the government to also come in and step in to have a more permanent place there. So, for example, Ontario recently announced in the fall that they were going to put free products in the bathrooms of the schools or donate to the schools, which was a great step forward. Unfortunately, we still haven't heard from any schools or school boards that have received those products, but it is a step in the right direction. And today they've just announced that, you know, for a call to action of putting it into post-secondary schools for students. So, you know, it's about just kind of highlighting that it's there and why it's there and having those conversations of why it should be there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is amazing. Oh, there's a couple of comments here. Sarah's saying, I love my Nicks. I couldn't remember the name of those. Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of great companies out there. There's Nix, there's Isle, there's a bunch. You can find something that's in your price point and fabric and design and everything.
Yeah, amazing. What do they use in it? Do you know? Like, what's the I wonder
They're
what
all
it is.
a little different. Yeah, it's an absorbent fabric that they use like in the gusset of the underwear. And you can get all different cuts too, and they even have teen sizes. Like, it's a really, like, if you Google it, you'll go down a dark hole of there's so many options, and it's fabulous because there's just choice. Where there used to only be like one before, and there's a lot of great ones with good absorbency in there, and different styles of, like, you can replace the pad or
Oh, okay, that's great. Oh, my mom chimed in. She said in Germany they already had the OBs in the 1950s when she lived there. So that's pretty crazy, eh? And that's like you know, just that's just after World War II. Early 50s my mom was still there. Yeah, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
There you go. And it's like, and I think and the applicators are helpful, and but also it's like it comes to, you know, if you're going to use an OB, you're kind of, you know, going to be maybe getting some period blood on you, and you know, the idea of it's gross period blood is, you know, oh, it's very ingrained in us here in North America, right? So it's interesting because we're starting to see people wanting to move away from the applicators, also from an environmental standpoint, to move away from applicators.
Yeah. And you know what a great, I mean, I know that lesson is taught, but I remember, you know, I was using the applicators for so long, and then, you know, later was introduced to OB. And my biggest stress with it was that it was going in the right place, or I wasn't going too high up with it, or, you know, but eventually, eventually we figure it out, but there are really great diagrams that come along with it. And
well, it comes from the old, like, you know, talking about our bodies, like people would think that it's going to get lost up there, right? If you use a tampon, it's going to, I don't know where it was going to go, but it's going to get lost. And, you know, learning now that it will not get lost, just relax, it's going to be there. And you know, it's, again, just that discussion and teaching that, you know, it's okay, you will be fine, and it will go in the right spot. If you feel it, you don't, then it's in the wrong spot. And really, that's the rule of thumb for a lot of these things.
Yeah. Amazing. God, Danielle, who would have thought we'd be talking about this? So
I know, it's so, I sometimes stop myself and I'm like, really? But no, it's great.
It's great. So if people want to get involved with the period purse, what are some different ways that they can help?
So the best thing to do is to follow us on social media, and sign up for a newsletter. So we're on all platforms at The Period Purse, and then our website's theperiodpurse.com. And on our website, you can sign up for a newsletter and also see different events spring is going to be when we have a lot of blitzes for our chapters across the country. So that's under our locations tab. You can look and see if there's a city location near you and see what they're doing. And there's always lots of volunteer opportunities posted from time to time, from, you know, helping out for those blitzes I was just talking about, maybe driving or picking up something, running a mini drive, or, you know, for the group, or become one of our monthly donors by donating, by joining the collective. So yeah, there's lots of ways there to get involved.
Oh, I love it. That's so great. I'm so happy that you were able to come on, Danielle.
Well, and thank you for having me. This was lovely.
No problem. The best way to kick off International Women's Day, and we're going to celebrate all month, all year. And right about now, I'm thinking, imagine if women were running the world right now. Wouldn't it be?
It would be interesting.
Yeah, something to work towards. Yeah. So great to have you, Danielle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I'll be back with you in the virtual green room in just a second.
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay. Too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today and listening to Danielle. I loved her story, and wow, the Period Purse, what an amazing organization. So make sure you check them out and get involved. You can always pick up from our website one of our Cycle of Empowerment bracelets. They're $35, and the proceeds go to the Period Purse to help buy period products for menstruators all over Canada. And we will see you back here. Oh, yes. And also don't forget to go to brendabadome.com and do a little shopping. Use the coupon code Get to Know Her for 22% off of your order. Happy International Women's Day. Keep on showing the world your sparkle, and make sure you subscribe to Get to Know Her if you're watching this on YouTube, because we're going to keep bringing you amazing women every week. We'll talk to you soon and see you next time.